Hey, my name's Russ Jones. I'm an artist living in London, and I explore ideas of freedom, identity, and control. And this week, I am going to share three things. One is the processes that I'm working on personally. I feel like that's my accountability in this experience. And if someone's watching this, then you can just copy what I'm working on so that you can get better as an artist yourself. Two, what I'm thinking about in terms of freedom and identity. And three, the value of art. We'll do it in reverse order. I think the value of art, from my perspective, and this is an ongoing question, is that it provides an external perspective that allows some level of learning because you're outside of a system. For instance, if I stand on a hill and draw a map, that's geographic art because it illuminates what the ground looks like from that perspective. And you can create questions with art, and I think that's where people normally draw the line between utility design and art, is that, oh, here's this interesting perspective that means that I have these two sides. But generally speaking, it provides an external perspective. And the more value that that perspective provides, either because of intensity of the perspective or breadth of relevance, determines its value. That may not be its monetary value. There are a huge amount of considerations for that, but generally that's what it is. And I've been thinking about what's the value of what I'm trying to do. And the value of what I am trying to do is say to people that you are more unique than the system around you allows you to know. Because the system around you, irrelevant of where you are, based on the fact that you are seeing this on YouTube, really wants you to be a square cog that operates and moves systematically through this late capitalist chain of working and consuming whatever it is that is in your neighborhood, digital or otherwise. It wants you to do that, and everything is pulling on you to behave a certain way. When you wake up in the morning, the school that you go to, the job that you work at, everything is pulling on you to provide for it. And that's kind of how society works. That's not a bad thing. We all have to provide for one another. But that doesn't mean that you are those things. You're not. You're not your job. You're not your friends. You're not your school. You're not your nation. You're not your social media following. You're you. And that journey to finding you and loving you is only internal. You can do it externally if you want. What am I good at? What can I provide? And you will get pulled into this tangle, not knowing really what you are. But if you go the other way and you go, hey, like, what am I at my core? What can I really be? What am I at my worst, at my darkest? You're going to find something beautiful if you're willing to. Like once you get through the mud and dirt of personality and the self-loathing of all the bad things you've done, and if you're able at that point to reach out a hand or an olive branch and give yourself a hug, you're going to find something really cool, something really beautiful, because it's in every one of us. And that is you. That is you. And you will be at peace when you find it. And once you have that, like that's your seed. Go grow. Go find a nice bit of soil to plant your roots into and spread out, because people want that. And when I was thinking about what I love when people interact in my work is that they either accept some part of myself, their self, see something in the work that I'm doing that is able to express some part of them, or they build a relationship to my paintings that allows them to coagulate around an idea of who they want to be. That's really cool when there's growth from it. That's a nice experience. And I would love to do more of that, but let's see if I'm good enough. So I was thinking about identity. How can you move this thing? How much of identity is pliable? I've got this amazing book by Annie Besant and C.W. Ledbetter. It's called Thought Forms. And this is based around the occult idea that there is a collective unconscious or streaming of emotions and thoughts through the air. And we can tap into it to pull those in and draw them. For instance, if anger is floating through the air, we can bring it down and it will appear on paper as this like red, strong, dark color, and you can feel it. And we can communicate with that. And it's not dissimilar to what Kandinsky was doing with music, just taking one energy form into another. This is this hidden energy form, which would make sense. It's just that we don't see it. And you're probably not clear why that relates to identity unless you understand who Annie Besant and C.W. Ledbetter are. And while they were trying to create this idea or research this idea, and it definitely erred more towards the creation of it and the developing this skill set amongst people, they also found J. Krishnamurti as a child and were a large influence in his early years. And it made me think about how malleable identity could be for someone that is a minor imbued with these ideas of being a religious icon early. If I tell someone from the year they're born that they're going to save the world, do they end up doing it? I think the chances are there's a much higher probability that they want to and try to. And when I look at J. Krishnamurti, I don't know if I'm going to get backlash for this. There are two ideas. One, he is this divine individual who was found by these two individuals from the arts world who are connected to art through divine creation. You know, it's a bifurcation of creativity. This higher power created everything, or is the act of creation in the modern world. And as artists, we are the antenna for that creativity on earth. That's the spiritual idea at its most positive. And then the scientific idea, the only one that I can really get to, is that religion is a cult-like system that people ascribe to that is generally beneficial for members of the cult and those around them. Cult's not a good word. I understand that. But it's a group who have said if we behave in this certain way, it will be mutually beneficial for us to do that. Let's not kill each other. Great. No one in this group will die by being in this group at the hands of this group. Good rule. Very helpful. And that may or may not be helpful to the lumps of sentient meat outside of that group, but for that group, it's great. Now, how do you get that group to behave in a way that does it? You can have law and order, you can have threats, you can have incentives, or you can have someone that lives and breathes it so much that's put at the top of that social hierarchy and elevated to such a level because of their adherence to the rules that they become an icon. They live and breathe the values of an organization right to their core. And by doing so, they're heralded as this religious icon. And I think maybe you could do that with classical conditioning of a miner. And if I look at history, there's some evidence that that's been done a number of times. It's certainly been done on scale with large members of the population. I went to a military school at 16. The Hitler Youth recruited extremely early. Spartans were at a very young age. And a lot of what these groups encourage is adherence to a values-based system, uniformity of behavior, hierarchical system that benefits in-group activity. It doesn't really care about groups outside of it. In fact, there's a very strong otherness of all of them. And it's kind of like brainwashing. Now, that's not to say that's a bad thing. There are good brainwashing systems you can have. But it makes me feel that the conditioning that we have early on in our lives almost dictates how well we're going to do. Well is a subjective term, but that's part of our identity, the stories we were told. And a lot of that might not be relevant. So I'm trying to think really about what is identity and how much of it is defined by those around us. And how do you get through those layers to figure out who you are? And maybe at the bottom of that, where that piece of gold is that I was talking about, is there is no identity. You are freed from being anything, whatever you want, complete freedom. You're just this thing. So that's what my thoughts are. It's a lot. In terms of process, this week I've been finding it tough. Not only have I increased the amount I'm reading, I've been trying to work on content. I know at the moment the content's not going to be great. It's really for me now just about building the muscle so that I'm producing enough of this stuff so that when I do get to meet people, there is some way of understanding what the hell I'm doing. And I'm either completely crazy, high probability, or I'm doing something that's useful for people. And I'm going to figure out how to keep doing this because it's useful enough for those around me. That's the aim. But it's tough. I'm in here 14, maybe 16 hours a day. I live or sleep close to an hour away. It's a very basic thing that I'm sleeping in. It's pretty tough. I get in, I climb into my bed, I sleep, I get up, I come back here. Some nights I sleep on the floor here. There's no blinds. Psychologically, it's a little bit rough. So I've been trying to work on my health. Go running, go to the gym, and that's been really good. I've been meditating, and that's been really good. And my diet's been better. But I'm finding it really hard to get everything done. And I'm feeling the anxiety of production impinge the quality of the painting. I've done 2 layers of my paintings this week. Normally I would do a layer a day, but I'm struggling a little bit, especially with studio visits, which I feel are, apart from the paintings and the actual work, the most important part of my practice. Because I have someone in here and they're giving me their time to see my world, and I don't want them to leave without taking as much from whatever I'm doing as I can. And I'm overwhelmed with the gratitude that people have shared since coming on them. And I just want to make sure that they have or they get whatever they can from this. Otherwise, everything that I'm doing is for nothing. And if I can help one person by them coming into this studio, like, it's been worth it. Because I've had those moments where I'm in hell. And I just know that there is a way to escape that without going through it. So this week is a relatively professionally focused week, which is weird because I also feel like it's the week where I'm going to get some good painting done. And I just really want to tie down how I allocate my time to all these different things and be a little bit more refined with what I'm doing in terms of processes, because I'm getting a little bit intimidated by them. One day I'm mixing paint and then I haven't got somewhere for it to go. I've got to make a canvas and then it's not quite ready and things don't synchronize up, and then I've got to make content and it's a bit overwhelming. But I know that's just a thing I have to do rather than the hard work of figuring out who the hell I am, which I now know. So if you're watching this still, I only have one request, which is if you see me, I'm in London, I travel a little bit, please say hi. I would love to meet anyone that's watching this. And if this has been at all useful following these videos and you see me in 3 months' time, I hope I've grown a little bit stronger and tougher. And the end state for this week, if everything goes well, is that the video next week will be something I'm ready for. It will be prepared and scripted and based on research that I've done in the week. And I'm nearly there, I think, to do that. I've tried to record stuff as early as I can, track the journey, see if it's worth it. Hopefully it's helpful. But I love you. And don't listen to anyone around you that is holding you back. That includes the voice in your head. Because that isn't you. That's just this idea that you've created to appease yourself by battling it. Don't listen. Just turn it off. Don't argue with it. Don't feed it. Just know that you can do whatever you want. And it might not be as good as you think on the first try. But if you keep trying, it will be. And it's as simple as that. This world isn't that complex. You just got to keep going. And it will throw more and more crap at you. And the bosses will get harder. But you can break out. And when you do, it's absolutely amazing. Because you get to be you. And there is nothing better than that. There is nothing, no higher reward than being yourself and that not having to be defined by anything. And I hope you make it, because if I don't, you have to. Hope you have a great evening or day. Maybe you're watching this in the day. That'd be cool as well. Peace and love. Hello.